shrimp producers used to keep animals in nursery ponds for 30 to 60 days, but today they attempt to get them into grow-out pools in under 30 days. The animals experience less stress as a result, and their chances of surviving in the grow-out ponds improve considerably. Many farmers that had abandoned nursery ponds have resurrected them, with surprisingly favorable outcomes. The old, open, clay nursery ponds are being used.
Some people see furniture as purely functional and useful, and are unconcerned about aesthetics. Others see it as necessary for civilized living, and are concerned with design and how the furniture will appear in a room. In other words, function combined with aesthetics. And still others see furniture as a form of art.
Exercise can be beneficial to your health if you have a chronic disease like heart disease, diabetes, asthma, or back or joint discomfort. However, before beginning an exercise routine, you should consult your doctor. He or she may be able to advise you on which workouts are safe to do and what precautions you should take while exercising.
A supercomputer simulation by an international team of researchers has shown the formation of a rapidly growing star from supersonic gas streams in the early universe left over from the Big Bang. The star ends its life with catastrophic collapse to leave a black hole with a mass of 34,000 times that of the Sun.
In the Roman army, there were two sorts of soldiers, legionaries and auxiliaries. The legionaries were the best soldiers in the army, whereas the auxiliaries were non-Roman people. Legionaries wore a woolen tunic and a linen undershirt. The soldiers stayed cool thanks to the linen, but the wool trapped heat and kept them warm.
The blue whale is the world's largest living mammal. Though estimates of maximum length and weight vary from source to source, Antarctic blue whales have been reported to reach lengths of 100 feet and weights of over 150 tons before whaling activities drastically decimated numbers. Blue whales in the North Atlantic can grow to be 80 to 85 feet long.
We heard the argument against it from several perspectives. We heard the argument against it from several perspectives.
You can pay using cash or a credit card. You can pay using cash or a credit card.
All essays and seminar papers submitted must be emailed to your tutor. All essays and seminar papers submitted must be emailed to your tutor.
Most of the assignments should be submitted on the same day. Most of the assignments should be submitted on the same day. Most of the assignments should be submitted on the same day. Most of the assignments should be submitted on the same day.
Social work is not the only subject in sociology. Social work is not the only subject in sociology.
It is important to take gender into account when discussing the figures. It is important to take gender into account when discussing the figures.
The teacher asked the group to commence the task. The teacher asked the group to commence the task.
Would you pass the material textbook on the table? Would you pass the material textbook on the table?
Students' identification cards will be issued today and tomorrow. Students' identification cards will be issued today and tomorrow.
This graph displays how much the government spends on various areas of education. The graph demonstrates the total amount of money invested on education, which is $11 billion. Higher education is at the top of the pyramid, receiving $1.8 billion in investment, followed by vocational training and schools, which each receive $2 billion and $3 to $4 billion. Early infancy, when investments ranging from $0.8 to $1.4 billion are made, can be seen at the base of the pyramid. As can be seen, early childhood is given the least amount of funding while schools receive the most. In conclusion, this graph provides some pretty intriguing data.
The food chain is depicted in the graph below. It demonstrates the procedure in action. Bees, little fish, a bear, and a tree are among the goods. This graph demonstrates the initial step, which is bees feasting on tree blooms. This graph shows that the second phase is little fish eating bees. This graph demonstrates that the third stage involves a bear eating fish and a fish skeleton surviving. This graph shows the deceased bear decomposing into a skeleton at the next stage. Dead bear feeding the tree is the last phase. This graph is really informative. To sum it up,
Information regarding New Zealand house prices is provided in the graph below. New Zealand and the OECD are among the items. Year, with a range of 1990 to 2014, makes up the horizontal axis. This graph indicates that in the year 1990, New Zealand's value is roughly 100, and the OECD's value is nearly identical. This graph shows that New Zealand has a maximum value of 250, which corresponds to the year 2107. This graph shows that New Zealand has a greater value than the OECD. OECD has lesser modifications. To sum up,
This image contains information about climate zones for temperature and humidity. According to the illustration, the largest area can be found in the hot, dry summer, frigid winter in yellow. It is in the center of Australia. However, the smallest area may be discovered in the chilly temperature in blue. It is located in Australia's southeast. It also gives information about various places, such hot humid, warm humid, temperature and so on. In conclusion, the climates in various parts of Australia vary.
Soot is a powerful absorber because it is black and results from the burning of numerous different materials. It really outperforms methane, which you frequently hear about, in terms of warming, coming in second only to CO2. The impact of soot and aerosols on the climate is noteworthy because of how much shorter their lifetimes are. Therefore, if we can cut down on the soot, we can make improvements now rather than waiting tens of years. Not that we should disregard CO2 and other greenhouse gases, but it might give us some time till we implement the most effective techniques for doing so.
When you view this image, you all probably immediately recognize what it is. It looks like a well-known photograph. We presumably all have some personal experience with it, I suppose. This is an X-ray of the chest that would be performed, for instance, in a radiologist's or your doctor's office. It is a good example of biomedical engineering since it leverages the physical interaction of X-rays with bodily tissues to create an image of what's inside your body. This allows you to peek inside and see things that you couldn't see without the usage of the equipment. You can see the ribs, bones, and the heart, which is the enormous, brilliant thing down here in the image. Other components of the image will also be recognizable to you. The lungs are darker regions within the ribcage, and if you have good distance vision, you may see the arteries leading from the heart and into them.
What emergency service is called at sea? What emergency service is called at sea?
How many times a year is a quarterly journal published? How many times a year is a quarterly journal published?
Which one is past tense, has gone, went, or going? Which one is past tense, has gone, went, or going?
What do we use to launch a space shuttle? What do we use to launch a space shuttle?
Which sweet food is produced by bees? Which sweet food is produced by bees?
Who is a person that makes bread, cakes and pastries? Who is a person that makes bread, cakes and pastries?
If you like our video, kindly subscribe our channel and also press below bell icon. Thank you.